Hey everybody! So today we are going to be talking about the solar eclipse at Aries. This will take place when the transiting sun and transiting moon are both at 9 degrees Aries. This is going to take place on Saturday, March 29th of 2025 at 5:58 a.m. Central Time in the US. Depending on where you are in the world, you will need to adjust or might need to adjust the time, the date, whatever, to figure out exactly when this takes place for you. But here in the US, Central Time, 5:58 a.m. on Saturday, March 29th of 2025. I have tried to film this introduction several times. And the reason is because every time I do it, it sounds clunky as shit. I'm trying to explain what a solar eclipse is, and every time I do it, it's like it's like doesn't come out right. Essentially, essentially, what a solar eclipse is, what triggers a solar eclipse to happen is when the new moon, which is a solar eclipse, happens during the new moon, lunar eclipse happens during the full moon. So when a new moon is within 18 and a half degrees or less of one of the nodes, that triggers an eclipse. That's when an eclipse takes place. In the case of this particular new moon, because it is in Aries, it is conjunct. Well, really, it's wide, but it's within that 18 and a half degrees that I was talking about of the transiting north node in Pisces. So this eclipse, even though it is the last eclipse along the Aries Libra axis, the nodes have already shifted signs. The transiting north node moved into Pisces. Transiting south node moved into Virgo. They move along an axis, so when one moves, the other one moves. And this happened on January 11th of 2025. So we're kind of working with, I mean, this is a solar eclipse in Aries, but the nodes have already moved into Pisces. So we are kind of working with interesting energy here. You know, the way that the nodes move in transit, their normal movement is retrograde. So for the nodes, 29 degrees Pisces is the beginning, and 0 degrees Aries is the end. So when we have like the eclipse happening with, solar eclipse in Aries, but the nodes are already in Pisces, there is very much this feeling of like a merging of the end and the beginning, the beginning and the end. Um, that kind of there is that kind of energy here, and that would already be the case because this is the last eclipse along the Aries Libra axis, but it feels even more so now because of this beginning and ending, end and beginning, alpha and omega and alpha, whatever kind of feel to this. It's an interest to me. This one is an interesting. We are in an interesting time. We are in an interesting time and living in interesting times for a whole bunch of reasons. But, the first of these eclipses started, I'm looking at my notes so I make sure I'm getting the dates correct. The first eclipse that happened along the Aries Libra axis, this was on April 19th, and for some places, April 20th of 2023. So we are ending essentially a 2-year cycle of eclipses along the Aries Libra axis. Before I get into that, though, just a couple of quick housekeeping things that I like to put at the very beginning. I will timestamp this so you all are more than free to be like, I don't give a fuck about her housekeeping. Yeah, but I'm going to be playing with the star cards a little bit during this recording. If you are interested in checking them out further, if you would like to purchase them, just want to know more about them, whatever, I will put the link in the description box where these can be purchased, where they can be looked at further, whatever. They're there to take a look at. Also, currently I am offering, because of March's astrology being like, like the emoji with the face where the eyes are all like crooked and it's going, Okay, so March's astrology is very much that way. I know a lot of y'all can feel it. Not only do we have, this eclipse on the 29th, we have uh Venus retrograde, we have Mercury retrograde, we had the eclipse, on what was it on the 14th? Um, and then we have this motherfucker moving into Aries on the 30th. Hasn't been in Aries. Neptune hasn't been in Aries in 164 years. Interesting times indeed. I've been screeching about this one for years. Um, going back through some old videos that I've done about, like Uranus and Gemini and Neptune and Aries. And I did these in 2021 and I'm looking at them now and I'm like, yep. And here we are. Here we are now. But March's astrology is a lot. It is a lot. So I'm offering a sale on my readings through March, the end of the day on March 31st. 30-minute readings are on sale for 50. Hour-long readings are on sale for 100. Normally, hour-long readings are 120 and 30-minute readings are 65. So they are on sale and through the end of the day on March 31st. I will put the link in the description box where you can check that out or get one from me or whatever. I wanted to throw this out there not only because there is a sale going on, but because I still get people asking, do you do readings? I absolutely do, and I would love to read for you. So yeah, that's where you can find me for that. The link in the description box will be there. Another thing, speaking of old videos, I don't know. Like I'm thinking to myself, like and like the regular people that watch this that leave comment, I'm certainly not talking to y'all. And even new people that are leaving comments that join, like I'm not trying to dissuade people from watching the videos or leaving comments, but like really some of y'all people leaving nasty comments on videos that are like 4 years old. Are y'all bored? Like like I'm like, what? Like what are y'all doing? And like the comments don't even make sense some of the time. Um I'm not gonna call it, I don't know. I'm not gonna call anybody out by name or call anything out by name, but this kind of, the astrology right now, there's a lot of Aries. Um, there's a lot of Aries going on. And, Aries can be passionate and impassioned. And, I think people just need to kind of, I've never really understood bitching on like random videos or random blog posts or whatever about somebody. Like if I don't like somebody, I just don't watch them or I don't read them. It's very simple. It's very simple. I just don't engage. Um, if I don't agree with them or whatever, I just like whatever, who cares? Like they're living their life doing their thing. Good for them, I don't need to piss in anybody's cornflakes. I guess I'm bringing all of this up because the astrology right now is so like it feels very it's hot. Not like in a Paris Hilton like that's hot kind of way, but like it feels like hot, like hot. And people are hot. And people are only going to get more hot the closer we get to the eclipse. And I mean we're already close. I'm filming this on the Monday before the eclipse, but people are looking for something to I think a lot of people, not everybody, people are looking for something to get pissed about. They are looking for well, let me also rephrase that. People are already pissed. People are already pissed off, but the temper thing and the popping off just feels a lot more likely right now, which I guess I should expect a decent amount more of this bullshit that I seem to have been encountering somewhat recently. Um My advice for y'all though, seriously, is just if there are things that like they're not hurting anybody, I'm not talking about things that are like actually bad for people, actually hurting people. I'm certainly not saying that people should sit idly by and not say anything or do anything about that. That's not what I mean. But if like you just don't like something and it's not hurting anybody, like just who cares? Like who fucking cares? Taking that approach for things that really don't matter right now really is, I think, a good idea because there's so much that actually does matter. There's so much that actually does matter to get hot about. I don't know. Not letting yourself get too hot about the things that really don't. Or, yeah, but I also think about that psychologically. Some people, because they feel like they don't, Aries is also power, right? Scorpio and Pluto are also power, but Aries and Mars are too. And sometimes people will get really nasty or weird or bitchy about things that really don't matter because they feel like they don't have power about the things that really do matter. So they are going to, because they can't rage on something that actually does matter. They're going to rage on little stupid bullshit because it's what they can do. It helps to make them feel powerful. And I do think that we'll see more of that because right now in the world's fucked. Like we're fucked, like totally fucked. And maybe that's, I don't mean to say that in a way that sounds defeatist or like there's nothing anybody can do. I don't want anybody to take that in that way. But this world, let's get real. This world's real fucked. This isn't even a political thing. It's just fucked. It's just fucked. And there's a lot that people don't feel like they have any control over, any power over. They're powerless to it. And, so they are going to rage and get pissy about things that they feel like they can control. Some of that is also, and that's kind of a too long didn't read, but it does have to do, it does tie into what's going on right now. Also, with this solar eclipse in Aries, right? The ruler, I don't even know where the fucking Mars card is. It doesn't matter. I don't know where I put it. But Mars right now is in Cancer. Mars in Cancer, in a natal chart, I would look at this a little differently. But in event charts, which is solar eclipse is an event. Here, let me actually go and pull that little fucker here. Let's go ahead and let's pull that. Okay. So like, Mars is the ruler, planetary ruler of the sun and the moon in Aries. And it's in Cancer. And, in an event chart or like in a crime chart, and also this I have a very different opinion of Mars retrograde in Cancer. But Mars direct in Cancer can have some problems expressing anger, can have some problems expressing frustration because it is in fall in Cancer. So, this could very well explain if you feel like, it could be that you are the recipient of this kind of rage. It could be that you feel like you want to rage. But it's like, watch what you direct it towards because, are you directing it towards something that really matters or are you directing it towards a bunch of petty bullshit that doesn't fucking matter? Are you getting pissy with random people on the internet? Are you, are you being nasty with people on the internet that like you don't know? Or whatever, or are people doing that with you? Really watch. Y'all need to, everybody, myself included, everybody needs to watch that because, if Mars in Cancer does not tend to feel very powerful as it is, it's not a very powerful position for Mars, which does make me think that, the possibility for more of this kind of bullshit, both me receiving it, y'all receiving it, perhaps even me engaging with it, other people engaging, whatever, where nobody's immune. Some people are going to be more impacted by this than others, depending on what this, solar eclipse is doing to your chart, to your personal natal chart. And yeah, let me also say this. You always want to take that into consideration, regardless of what anybody says online, any astrologer says, whether that's me, whether that's somebody else you watch, whether that's somebody you read, whatever. You've got to take your chart into consideration always, because for some people, it's such a personal thing. I will talk about, in the videos that I do, I'll talk about some possible ways that it might manifest for somebody individually and collectively, but ultimately it comes down to what your chart looks like. So, make sure to pull this, the eclipse chart for, up against your chart to see what this looks like. But everybody does kind of need to watch, I think, for that kind of thing. And if you find yourself feeling like you're getting really pissy or really hot about things that just like really don't matter, really ask yourself why. Is it because you feel powerless in other ways? And this could be in personal ways. This doesn't have to be, I mean, it certainly could be, feeling powerless within the world at large. But it could also be in your personal life. Maybe there are ways that you feel like you don't have power. So instead you're gonna start exerting power other places where maybe you feel like you have more power. When really that's not where it needs to be directed in the first place. Everybody just needs to watch for this kind of thing because there is a lot of hotness and pissiness, and Mars in Cancer I do think can be kind of pissy. It's kind of a pissy Mars. It can be. Rather than like just like the rage. Mars can rage, right? Mars, but it's like a pissy rage. It's not necessarily a scary rage. It can be a little bit more pissy. Um, I kind of start, well, I'm going to go back now. I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to go back. Kind of started talking about something I was going to talk about towards the end, but it felt right to talk about that there and whatever. Um, okay, so this is the last eclipse along the Libra Aries axis. Like I mentioned before, or I think I mentioned it. Um, the first one took place on April 19th of 2023, April 20th of 2023. For some of y'all, it just depends on, where you all are or were in the world. Hold on, my phone just, here, I'm gonna like turn my phone off because I'm not sure what, hold on. Yeah, powered off. Okay. So eclipses are like, there is an eclipse story, if you will. Sometimes we know what that story is as it's starting. Oftentimes we don't actually know what the story was in full until we get to the end of it. So, thinking back to when this first eclipse along the Aries Libra axis took place on April 19th of 2023 or April 20th of 2023. Thinking back to then and what was going on for you is something to do during this eclipse. And really, the going back is really a thing here. Let me share the screen one more time. The going back really is a thing because we have both Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde during this eclipse. And retrograde, I've talked about retrograde planets before several times, and I do think that there's much more to them than just going back, but quite literally, they are going backwards, meaning going back, reflecting back. Not only that, right now, the South Node, which is also the past, among other things, the South Node is in Virgo, ruled by this Mercury retrograde. The South Node was in Libra, right, before it moved into Virgo. And Libra is ruled by Venus. So there is definitely this needing to go back and reflect on this eclipse story. I think it is a big deal here. It's always a good idea to reflect on the eclipse story, if you will, but when those eclipses are finished. But I think this particular one, I think it really is really is a good idea. Thinking back to, let me make that bigger. Thinking back to that period of time and what was going on for you is something to do. Have you gained any independence throughout these years since the first one in April of 2023? Going after things or have you been going after things that you really want? knocked off the people pleasing or learned how to balance the concept of the other more with that of your self desires or just yourself in general. It could be that you started out these eclipses wanting independence, knowing that you wanted independence. And, or in some cases, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't realize how much you needed independence from something. But now you realize this whole cycle has been about independence. Um, Perhaps, you started out this cycle, this eclipse cycle, not really sure about what you wanted in life, what you were driven towards, what lit you up. Maybe you started this out not being sure about what that is, and now it's much more clear to you what actually drives you, um, what lights you up, these kinds of things. Um, Also, with this eclipse cycle, these eclipse stories taking place along Libra and Aries, there is also this notion about, Libra energy is balancing. It is harmonious. It wants and it strives for balance, but oftentimes Libra energy, if it's not balanced, it can be very imbalanced. It's always striving for balance. Balance can be very hard to find. It's very relational and very other person, concept of the other is very much a Libra thing. So it could be that you started out these eclipses focused more on another person, on somebody else, on pleasing somebody else. Libra energy also loves to please or tries to please, tries to appease, wants to keep things on an even keel. And perhaps over these eclipses, you've been like, fuck that. Or, and it may not have been like you may have been forced to be like, fuck that. Maybe you just over time have realized, yeah, I don't really need to please that person. I don't really need to do that. And this isn't about like not pleasing somebody because of course if we're in partnership with somebody or if we have different relationships with people of all kinds of relationships, romantic, friendship, business partnership, whatever, um there is a sense of wanting to get along and wanting to be harmonious and wanting to balance and wanting to please and make the other person happy, but not at the sake of not making yourself happy too. And it could be some of y'all over the course of this period of time realize I'm doing all this shit and they're not they're not, I don't feel like it's balanced. They're not doing the same thing for me that I'm doing for them or whatever. Equality in relationships isn't necessarily both people doing the exact same amount of work or the exact same thing. It could just, they contribute the same amount of effort towards the relationship, whether that be a friendship or a romantic partnership or whatever. They contribute the same amount of effort, even if they contribute different things. I kind of think about like an example, like you got a friend and the friend never texts you. They never text you. You always are the one to text them. They never call you. You always call them. They never make plans with you. You always make plans with them. And maybe, using a hypothetical example like that, maybe over the course of this, you've realized, man, that motherfucker never calls me. Never mentions anything for me to do. If I didn't text them, I would probably never hear from them. That kind of a thing. And letting that kind of sink in, like, is this actually good for me? Is this actually something I need in my life? You know, kind of thing. So I think there are, probably things like that, things along those lines. Maybe not those exact same things, but things along those lines that y'all have kind of, at least some of y'all have kind of come to realize. And again, this may not have been realized right when these eclipses started. It very easily could have come over time, and it might not be until just now or recently that you realize that this has kind of been a part of the eclipse story. Another thing, scary, things that are scary. Eclipses, Aries energy. We tend to think of Aries energy as being fearless. It can be fearful though too. It deals with fear. Aries energy deals with fear. And over the course of these eclipses in Libra and Aries, there has been, I think, for some of y'all, not for everybody, to lean into things that are scary, that are a little bit scary. Now, I don't necessarily mean leaning into dangerous things, right? Things where you're in danger of losing life or limb. I certainly don't mean that. I'm not advocating for anybody to go do any fucking dangerous shit that could actually hurt them or kill them or whatever. I don't mean that. But we all have things that are a little scary. We know they'd be good for us to do. We know they would be, but they're a little scary. They're a little scary to act to think about doing. They're a little scary to actually implement and actually, do. So over the course of these eclipses, for some of y'all may have realized that you've leaned into things that before you would have thought were a little scary. You maybe wouldn't have done. You would have been too scared to have done. It wouldn't, because Libra on the opposite end, Libra energy, it's ruled by Venus. Venus wants comfort. Comfort is something that Venus expresses. And we tend to associate Taurus. Taurus is also ruled by Venus, but we tend to associate Taurus more with comfort than Libra. But Libra likes to be just as fucking comfortable as Taurus, just in different ways. Libra tends to want to be comfortable in relationship, wants to be comfortable with somebody else, wants to be comfortable, but comfort is still a Libra thing. It is still a Venusian thing. So it's kind of moving away from what's comfortable into things that are a little bit scary. So I do think that some of y'all have probably done that over the course of these 2 years. Some of y'all might have started out these eclipses being like, I'm gonna do scary shit. And some of y'all may not realize that, wow, I've really done this, that, or the other. Normally would have scared me, but I'm doing it. I did it. You might be realizing that now. Also the same thing, with anger, leaning into to embracing anger, embracing aggression, embracing assertiveness, all of those sorts of things that are even embracing rage, right? All of these Aries expressions. Again, Libra wants to keep things on an even keel, wants to keep things balanced, harmonious, wants to be pleasing. And oftentimes anger, aggression, being overly assertive or just being assertive in general, especially if you're a woman and you're assertive, you're automatically thought of as a bitch. Like you can't just be assertive. A man can be assertive. A woman, though, a woman is a bitch if she's too assertive. Whatever. That's a whole other. I'll get off that soapbox. But leaning into these qualities, perhaps being like, I don't need to be as pleasing. I can be assertive. I can be aggressive when appropriate. I can express anger when appropriate. you know, and in an appropriate way. There are appropriate. The Venus would probably like the balance there of appropriate anger. And you know, and by that I mean like doing it at appropriate times. And there is a civil way to be angry. There actually is. There is a civil way to disagree. There is a civil way to be angry, to be aggressive, to assert yourself. You don't have to be a total asshole when you do this. And well, and that's the other thing, I feel like with this eclipse, some of y'all are realizing that some of y'all might be having a more difficult time doing that. And a lot of that I think has to do with also what's going on in the world at large right now, what we're looking at, what everything looks like. And again, this isn't a political thing. This is just like what the world looks like. Depending on what it doesn't, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, if where you'll fall in between, I don't give a fuck. It, you know, we're seeing a lot of anger, rightfully so in a lot of cases. Um, that's something that we need to watch for though, under this eclipse, the anger. Just doing it. I'm gonna share the chart again. Leaning into anger, there are a lot of things to be angry about. People have every right to feel that anger, and to want to do something about it, and to do something about it. It's just, what do you do about it? You want to make sure that you do it in a way in a way that actually makes a difference, in a way that actually gets yourself heard. Um, what that means to people individually and collectively is going to depend on the situation. But I think, there's nothing wrong with it. The thing about it is Mars in Cancer sometimes doesn't always express anger well. It either does it in a more pissy way or feels powerless, so it expresses anger and frustration and rage and all of that towards things that don't really matter, or it can kind of pop off at times where we're in ways where maybe it doesn't hit the right note um in some kind of way. So while I think that there are, and I'm also looking, I'll pull this also. I was looking at the US's chart with this just real quick because I know I did this in the other one. The US, this is going on in the fourth house of the US's chart. I have and this isn't like surprise Pikachu face or anything. Like people here in the US, we're pissed. People are pissed. Everybody's pissed. Things are constantly happening to piss people off. I don't really even care what side, again, what side you're on. There are things constantly that could piss off anybody. So I imagine there'll be more of the same under this eclipse energy. I really think it'll just be more of the same. I think what is going to matter is how we react to it, because Mars is action. And Mars in Cancer, because it doesn't usually take an offense position, it's defense. So there is more reaction than just taking action. So I think what's gonna matter here is collectively how we in the US actually react to whatever it is. And again, I don't know what it is because it could be like so many different things. There's so many different things that are constantly going on that are constantly happening to be pissed off about. But I definitely think we'll be pissing people off here. I'm sure that'll happen. Um, but yeah, let me flip that again. Okay, let me put it just one. Um, but the eclipse is the solar eclipse is a new moon. New moons are good times to plant seeds, new beginnings, all of that. They're wonderful for that. I do think though with this one, because of that North Node in Pisces and because of this going on in Aries, and like how I was talking about before, it's like, the node's moving retrograde. So, 0 degrees Aries is the end and 29 Pisces is the beginning in the case of the nodes. And it very much is like the end and the beginning coming together. I think it is important, and also the retrograde motion of Mercury and Venus. I think it is important in order for new beginnings to take place, we do have to go back. I think we do need to go back and think about what we've learned over the cycle. I think it's very, very important for this particular solar eclipse in order for new seeds, new beginnings, all of that to happen. Because I mean, this is really when you've got a new moon in Aries, Aries energy is new. It is new beginnings. It is the start of things. It is the spark. It is the turn of the key. It's the beginning. And this is depending on where this falls in your chart, you could really start some wonderful things off in that area of life, whatever house it happens to fall in. But I do think you need to go back. Everybody will need to go back and consider what they've really done over these past 2 years. And this here, we also have Saturn conjunct the North Node. Saturn is going to, there is Saturn energy, it tests, but it does reward. It does reward once you've passed the test or whatever, or tried. But there is work that's put in here. So it does feel like here, in order for these new beginnings to really take off or happen, there does need to be work put in. There does need to be work that is put in here. Even though it's in Pisces, and really since it's in Pisces, Pisces is very holistic. It's the whole, right, among other things. So it's like that work is being put in to see the whole. Um, that's very much what this feels like to me. But these are interesting times. I'm going to go and stop this now. These are very interesting times, though. Um, if you feel like you need to take a deep breath and chill out, by all means do that. If you feel like you're getting really hot or really pissed off or really angry, I do encourage you to really think about what it is you're really angry about. And if you find that it's something that you really don't feel, something in the world right now that you don't have any power over or you don't feel like you do, I would try to figure out ways to make it to where you do feel like you have more power, getting involved in things that, would help you feel that way. Um, Somehow being a part of the whole. Um, I think that's pretty good advice too. Anyway, the next video I do that'll be up will be about Neptune and Aries. Again, I've been wanting to do that for a few days, have a blog post on that, but I've wanted to make a video on it. It's been like almost 4 years since I did the other one, since Neptune moves into Aries on the 30th. It's time to do another one. But if anybody wants me to read for them, they can find the link in the description box below. Leave comments if you feel like sharing what you think this eclipse might bring, how it's playing out in your chart, whatever. I love reading what y'all have to say, and I love responding to y'all, having, engaging with y'all. I love it. But yeah, I will see you all later.